10 teams and long-standing rivals. Heather, where in your mind should this leave Miami when the rankings come out this week?
Green, Miami should be number 3 in the country because they got one of the best non-conference wins of week 1 and probably the entire season. This is the kind of win that is going to resonate with the College Football Playoff Selection Committee through Selection Day. It's a head-to-head tiebreaker that they'll own as long as their records are comparable. Miami right now looks like it can win the ACC, but if it doesn't and it's fighting for an at-large bid, this will separate them from other CFP contenders that didn't play as strong of a non-conference schedule. Yes, strength of schedule still matters.
Yeah, and these obviously two named programs with big expectations. Paul, what do you think last night meant for both sides, particularly a Notre Dame team that doesn't have the strongest schedule the rest of the way?
No, I mean, I don't think you can write Notre Dame off, Greeny. It's worth remembering they lost to Northern Illinois last year and made it to the final game. So I think Notre Dame is going to be okay. It was a little bit of a shock to the system just at times to see some of their ineptitude, but ultimately they have a couple of SEC schools on the schedule. A&M at home, at Arkansas. It shouldn't be a problem, either one. They have Boise later, which doesn't seem like a big deal anymore, and Southern Cal is going to be one of their marquee games.
I think you feel great if you're both programs, candidly. If you're Miami, Carson Beck looked like 2023 Carson Beck, confident, gave his guys chances, moved well in the pocket, looked like a guy that could play himself back into that first-round conversation. They have this young freshman, Malachi Toney, on the perimeter that looked like a difference maker, a game-changing type of physical talent. And then also Miami's defensive line I thought was absolutely fantastic. And if you're Notre Dame, while you lose essentially the last play of the game, one, you feel great about your quarterback. C.J. Carr only throughout that game got better and better. I think the concerning thing, I guess, for Notre Dame was they did get pushed around a little bit on both sides of the ball, which is not like them. Hopefully that gets better for them in that program. But I do think both teams walk away feeling like they are bona fide national champion contenders.
So we had 3 top 10 matchups this weekend. That was the third. We're going to cover all 3. Let's go back to the first one that was played high noon on Saturday after an unbelievable and emotional college game day with Lee Corso in Columbus. Top-ranked Texas then went out and fell to the reigning national champs Ohio State 14-7. Preseason Heisman favorite Arch Manning looked shaky at the beginning of the game, finished with 170 passing yards, 17 of 30, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. It was that first half was just a mess for those of you who didn't get a chance to watch it. Second half, he got a little bit going. Ohio State clearly looked like the better team. Let's go through this from top to bottom. Paul, let's start with you. You said to me last week that you could never remember a time where there was a more hype for any individual player going into a game than that. What are the right things to say about it after that performance?
Well, the truthful thing to say is it was a disastrous beginning. Now, you can look inside and find good things, but mostly he was not ready for the moment, and neither was his coach. I was more disappointed in Steve Sarkisian, who I had believed was the best offensive play caller in America. He just did not dial up very much. He was outmanned on the defensive side by Ohio State, and I came away optimistic that Arch would get better, but that's not what we were expecting, and that's not what we got.
From the very beginning, even Dan, look, far be it from me to be reading the eyes and the body language of big-time football players. You would know that better than I. But I expected him to come out on that field, just based on what we've heard him say and stuff, with a little swagger, like, look what I'm about. Hey, everybody, look what I'm about to do here. And it didn't look that way. It looked like it was a big moment for him.
Everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth. You know, you're going on the road to the defending national champion playing against a defense that played remarkable. I would say this, Arch Manning's game looked the way it did because, number 1, Matt Patricia, the defensive coordinator for Ohio State. Number 2, Steve Sarkisian was completely outclassed. And then number 3, the Ohio State secondary was absolutely fantastic. I didn't think a lot of guys for Texas were open. You go to the first third down of the game, watch the coverage rotation that happens, and if I just freeze it right now, there's 2 guys over 1 guy defensively to offensively. Then there's 3 guys for Ohio State's defense, first 2 guys is offensively for Texas. There's nowhere to throw the football for Arch Manning other than the place that he throws the football, even though it's short of the first down. That's not great. Here we go with another 3rd and long, 3rd and 11. You're going to try to get rotation again from the top. There's no place for Arch Manning to throw the football. They've got double team, double team, double team. The only place you can do is throw the ball to the back. So you're sitting there going, well, why is the quarterback holding on to the football? Because there's nowhere to throw the ball. Rotation again, 3rd and 8. There's NFL types of coverages that are going on right now when it comes to how they're passing things off. there's nowhere for the quarterback to go with the football, and that's why everyone, myself included, is watching the game going, my goodness, why won't he let the ball go? I would say this. Arch Manning and Sharpe got Bill Belichick. And I know Coach Belichick plays tonight. Arch will not see another defense that is as sophisticated, as complicated, as much they change pre-snap to post-snap. I'm not telling America that Arch didn't have some misses. Of course he had some misses. Mechanically, he got worse as the game went on. That game, in specific to Arch, went the way it did because of Matt Patricia for Ohio State and that Ohio State secondary.
What did it mean, Heather?
It meant that Texas is obviously going to be looking up at Ohio State all season long. But we also, Texas is a playoff team. They're not going to play a Power 4 opponent until they open against Florida in the SEC. They're going to get better. But here's the thing. Are they going to win the national title with Arch Manning? I don't know the answer to that because I agree with everything that you said, but I watched in the press box him throw high, him throw low, him throw behind a receiver. He did miss an open guy near the end zone at times. There were mistakes. Can he correct them? How quickly can he correct them? We'll see what happens with that.
Yeah, I totally agree with that point. I think, like, again, I would imagine Texas today looks back and goes, we're going to be okay. They lost by a touchdown. They had the ball with the chance to go tie it on the road versus a team that could have the best defense in the country. This could be one of the better defenses we've seen in a long time. The coverage unit was absolutely sensational. So it wasn't like Arch Manning was 5 of 35 for 12 yards and 8 interceptions. Like, it got better at times. And I think there's a lot that they are going to learn from that game.
The headline is going to be Arch Manning. But you mentioned Steve Sarkisian. Where were all of the fun things? Where was the quarterback using his legs? Where were some of those trick plays, stuff to loosen up this defense that was obviously dominating the game?
Randy, this was a continuum of what we saw in the final drive in the Cotton Bowl. Don't forget, these two played each other in January. Texas has the ball on the 3-yard line, first down, and they end up giving up a touchdown the other way because Sark just completely lost it. And that's what concerns me because we've all wrapped our arms around this guy, Dan, and I don't know. I mean, I know the defense on the other side was elite, but that's part of winning a championship.
Oh, I totally agree. Sark was, and I love Sark. He was very disappointing to me. I mean, I'm talking quarterback run. I'm talking perimeter screens. I'm talking running the football. I mean, I felt there was way too many run first. They averaged in the first 3 quarters. They're down in distance to go on third down. Texas offensively was 3rd and 7+. You want to get a young quarterback to play poorly on the road? That's the model to do it. So there's a lot of burden that has to get carried by Coach Sark.
On your screen, you see that when this game kicked off, Ohio State was the 3 team in the country and Texas was number 1. When it comes out this week, should Ohio State be number 1?
No. LSU had the best win of week 1. They went on the road into Death Valley, and they beat a team capable of competing for the national title as well. I think Ohio State is an extremely good team. But when I do this every week, I look at it through the eyes of a selection committee member, and no one had a better win than LSU.
Okay, fair enough. So we will get to LSU Clemson as we go in the story of both of those quarterbacks and everything else. But Ohio State, it looked to me like they got a little tired of hearing about Arch Manning. And even when I was posting some stuff on social while the game was going on and afterwards, the Ohio State fans were up my case. I mean, they were like, good job not noticing the game that Julian Sain played, Greedy. Good job not noticing the defense, Greedy. Good. I think they heard all of the Arch conversation, and I think they used that.
Well, I don't know where they heard it, but Greedy, I think it's worth remembering, though, that Texas was on the goal line. They should have gotten in, and the game would have been completely different. I'm not making excuses for them. The thing that maybe surprised me as much as what we said about Sark was Arch. I was convinced this moment would not be too big, that he was made for it, and he wasn't, and he didn't get much help either.
That would be the one thing that I would be most surprised by when it came specifically to Arch Manning. I would have thought because of the upbringing that he would have walked into that stadium and been like, there's nothing. The mechanics